Salam everyone. It's good to be back here today. First of all, just wanted to congratulate everybody on the beautiful Pancharatna Kritis this morning. As we all know, I think this is our very own Swami's Pancharatna Kritis. We have heard Tyagaraja's Pancharatna Kritis, which are done with so much fervor in Tiruvayar every year. This is, to listen to this here is very, very beautiful, and particularly when we, even for those who don't understand Carnatic music and the ragams and everything which goes with it, if you read through the meanings of each of the thing, it's so beautiful how Swami's teachings have been brought out so beautifully through each of the Pancharatna Kritis. So it was wonderful. I also wanted to call out yesterday evening's program was so beautiful. The YA concept, I had a chance to speak to Srikanth right after. It was beautifully conceptualized, and all aspects of it come together nicely. Music, be the children part of that, be it the play and the concept and the ideas of, I told Sriram to make you think beyond what you saw on the stage, right? That is very, very important, particularly in this year when we are celebrating Swami. On that note, beautiful programs in this region itself over the next few months here. You're going to experience a lot of wonderful speakers pass through and wonderful Sai events, of course, with all things which will happen in November. It is our chance to sort of soak into the whole experience to really bring Swami's message into our own lives. So with that, this morning I wanted to actually share a few experiences of my time from childhood through Swami school, and hopefully bring all the learnings to everybody as well. And but before I start with the experience, I wanted to play one recording of a video. The audio is not the greatest, but I can bring it up for you again at the end of the whole thing. But this is Swami interacting with a group of students, with Professor Anil Kumar translating it in Kodaikanal.
How to reach? How to reach? देखो अभी आफ्टर लंच आफ्टर डिनर people स्वामी के पास जल्दी आ सकता है, ट्राई करता है। एक दिन बैड फीट में हो सकता है, एक दिन फ्रेंडशिप में हो सकता है। तुम्हारी इंटरेस्ट प्रेम आता है इस मार्ग में, तुम कितना जल्दी आ जाओ तो बढ़ जाए। इसी प्रत्यक्ष स्वामी जी का ये है, कितना जल्दी जाने का बहुत इच्छा है, इंटरनल का अफेक्शन बहुत ऊंचे होते हैं, इतने नीचे से स्टार्ट है। इंटरनल अफेक्शन सही लेते तो
The question is how to reach God. Bhagavan gives us an example of just what is happening now. World example. Now we are there in the dining hall. When Bhagavan sits here, we will run immediately, we will dash, we will rush at a high speed and take the first seat. Why? Because of the interest we have. When there is affection internal affection, then we go there. When you don't have that interest, when there is no internal affection, we will have the back seat.
इतना इंटरेस्ट affection and take fourth chest.
When there is interest and affection coupled together, it actually fourth.
I hope everybody got the message of the whole thing, right? So here the scene is right after lunch. Swami is giving a talk, so he's sitting in the chair, and Swami said right from the dining hall everybody is coming to be in the hall with Swami, and he says a group of people will rush and sit right next to him. There's a group of people will sit at the back. No pun on the people sitting on the chairs. That's not what Swami's meaning. I think what Swami is pointing out is based on your affection and your interest, you will seek to go into Swami's message. Essentially, that's what it is. Otherwise, we can always take a back seat and listen, interest, be participant in the programs, but it'll take more time. So the point he's trying to make is push yourself to have enough interest in what Swami is here to give, and your own affection for him at a very, very physical level it will force you to come closer to Him. That is what he's pointing out. And I think this message is very apt, and I try to play this wherever I have an opportunity, because it reiterates for me that firstly, it is the combination, like we spoke about the whole beautiful vibhuti, thing which happened here yesterday, where it is the combination of the faith and love of the devotees and the blessings of the Lord. Both have to come together. In the same way, here Swami is saying you have to show interest and you have to have affection, and then the current passes, from the master to the student. So that is where even in Upanishad, right, we know the word Upanishad, Upanishad, right? For those of us who know Sanskrit, it is sitting close to the master such that below, so that the flow of energy, flow of wisdom, whatever it is from the higher level to the lower level. So that is where we have to become strong seekers of His message. With that, so today I will start out by sharing a lot of my childhood experiences, growing in Swami's fold and in His presence. So yesterday I briefly mentioned about my grandmother in a particular story. So to start out, what had happened was my grandparents, very pious, they were always, in the spiritual fold, I will say, in some form or the other. And growing up in Chennai, I've met several people here. It is very typical that you either go to the temples or you go to different Swamijis, and always with the desire to become closer from a spiritual sense, So one time they had heard that Satya Sai Baba was visiting Chennai. This is early 60s, very, very early 60s. And my father had read about it in the newspaper. There was a thing which said, Sai Baba is coming to this particular place. And at that time they had this habit of going to a particular Swamiji on a regular basis. And my father realized the place where Swami was staying and giving darshan was very close to or on the way to this particular place where they were going. And so he asked my father, his uncle, and his parents. My father was not married at that time, so just 4 of them, and they were going in the car to this particular Swamiji. And on the way, I think my father pointed to this particular location and he said, why don't we go here? And then my uncle who was driving, his uncle who was driving, basically took the car in there. And just as they entered, Swami was taking Arati at that point. And the song Pavana Purusha Saisha, for some of us who know, it's a very old song which we sing as part of our bhajan tradition as well these days. So that song was being sung and Swami was taking Arati, and that was the first time they had seen Swami in his physical form. And my grandmother particularly very interested in knowing who he is and reading about him, very few books at that point in time. So they did their best in terms of trying to learn as much as they can about him. From there on, it so happened there was a group of interested people in their own community. There was a bhajan group which was set up, and they were starting to go to these bhajans. And at that time they had visited Puttaparthi a couple of times, and for those of you who know those times, Swami pretty much gave audience to anybody who came in, and as they were leaving he would give them audience, and so they were beneficiaries of those kinds of interactions with Swami. So in Chennai itself, they used to have these bhajans every week, and each week in this particular location, in a house where these bhajans used to happen, there used to be letters addressed to specific individuals and their problems through, Swami used to give those letters. The way it used to occur is, at the beginning of bhajans there is nothing at all. At the end of the bhajans there may be a chit at Swami's altar where throughout you're sitting there. It is something which Swami chooses for it to happen, and it is there, and it is addressed to particular individuals addressing certain issues that they have in mind. Now when I think about it, I'm like, how wonderful it will be to see such things, but it was meant for devotees in the 60s, I think. So anyway, those kinds of letters used to come, and there were things addressed to my grandmother, my father, and my grandfather, and all that. And in that particular house, what they used to do is, even though the letters were meant for certain individuals, at the end of reading that message, they would leave it back at Swami's altar. So they just saved everything there. So one day my grandmother had it in her mind that next time, Swami, when you write something for me, I would love to take it home. As you all know, we all would love to take it home to our own altars. So that was her desire. And the next time something came about in Tamil, Swami had written, "Ide eduthuko," right? Take it with you. And we still have that letter with us at home today. And it's amazing that, when you become a student and physically you are interacting with Swami, you sort of limit him to this, 5'2" figure that he is, where as he's impacting people around the world, right? When I think of Swami, I think his greatest messages or greatest miracle is his transformation. And when you look at least people in the US, people in Europe maybe, or people in India, but there are devotees around the world. And when I particularly look at countries in South America and things like that, many of them have not even been to Prashanthi Nilayam. And Swami chooses to make the change wherever they are by different ways, right? And Swami's connection is always that one-to-one connection. He doesn't need an intermediary to sort of speak to you about what Swami is saying. Anyway, so this was that, and then yesterday I mentioned about the whole Amritanjan thing. So these were all ways of how Swami was connecting with individual devotees at that point in time. And of course, Swami used to come to Chennai often, like I was saying. And my father used tell me the story of, they used to get the opportunities to do the door duty when Swami used to come and stay in Chennai. So these kinds of opportunities they've always had. And then subsequently, of course, my father got married and my mother came into the family, not a Sai devotee at all, but slowly she was, seeing her in-laws and everybody else sort of in the fold. And Bal Vikas for the first time started, becoming a thing in India in the late 70s. Right? We know this is Sarla Shah, that is Indulal Shah's wife, was the first one who sort of initiated the whole Bal Vikas movement in the late 60s, early 70s, before it started getting formalized. And so I became part of the Bal Vikas classes, and of course they used to happen in my own house, so there is no escape, right? As I tell my children these days, you have to make it to class no matter what. So, and then, lucky as we were, I've spoken to several people here, and Swami used to make regular trips to Chennai, which was amazing, right? Apart from being in Puttaparthi, that was the next best thing. Right? Shivam and, even Bombay, these were all places Swami used to frequent quite a bit. Once, particularly yesterday, the Jeopardy, we saw Sundaram and we saw Satyadeep and of course Shivam temple, which was, in Hyderabad, for those of you who know from there. So, maybe I'll start with this, share a few pictures. Yeah. So this is a picture from early 80s, so I don't know how clear it is, but anyway, so this is in Abbotsbury, and I had the opportunity to be a part of a play, and it's very clear, but right next to Swami, the shortest person there is me. I was like 5-6 years old, and I had the opportunity to play the role of Lord Krishna in a particular play. And the play is actually, again, I'll bring out the story of the play as well, because it's a very interesting story where everybody prays to Lord Krishna as part of different saptahams and this and that, and then there is a thief who happens to hear that, and he truly believes that Krishna exists, and he truly believes that he wants to go and take away all the jewels that he has, because he knew Krishna was was at least raised in a royal family. So that was his clean intention, and that was his motivation, and eventually he sees Krishna and others don't see Krishna. And then he gets all the jewels from Krishna, right? So that is the story of this devotee who believed in that, existence of the Lord, and that he will give me what I want. So that was my first time in Abbotsbury. That's the Abbotsbury stage for those of you who know Chennai. And there were, multiple plays. I know Harish was a speaker here last year, and Harish's mother, Saundarya Auntie, was Saundarya Auntie and T.G. Krishnamurthy. For those of you who know from Chennai, Auntie was particularly very instrumental in taking many plays to Swami, and Swami used to love the amount of effort, amount of structure, the amount of practices, and it was in Swami's presence. It had to be perfect. So all that we learned from our teachers, all that we learned from our elders, and that is what Swami would expect. Anyway, that was my first interaction, in the sense Swami at the end of the play asked me what is my name, right? So that was my physical interaction. Swami had already entered the altar in our house, and he was part of that for a long time, but that was my first interaction. Let's see here. Go back. Oh, okay, that's a slightly better picture. So you see me in that picture. So let me move forward. The following year there was a different play, and it was one of the devotees of Lord Vishnu. I think it's the Choka Mela play from Maharashtra. And that year, actually I'm again next to Swami there, he gave me the garland from, he used to take garlands at that time. And he gave me the garland in my hand, and that was, so slowly this relationship which was from the altar was becoming a little bit more personal, and Swami was interacting, and it was more becoming real for me. Then what happened was, there's another picture from the same one, I think post Swami taking the Aarti and leaving. And alright, let me go back, maybe I'm clicking too much. You're clicking, okay. So if you go to this is the first one, after that? Okay. Yeah, so then in Sundaram, I know we talked about Sundaram yesterday, this is in January of '86. And I was asked to give the welcome speech when Swami came to Chennai in January that year. And yesterday we talked about the Shirdi Baba temple, which is, for those of you who are from Chennai, which is next to Swami's thing, Swami's residence itself. And there I was practicing for this speech with my SSC teacher. And that day I was supposed to give the welcome speech. Swami sat on the chair, and my instruction was as soon as he sits on the chair, I should start the welcome speech. Everything went up to script so far, where I started speaking, but Swami chose to do something different, right? He was sitting on the chair, he got up, he came and stood right in front of me, and you can see, he kept staring into my face. So you can go to the next slide. So I have a few pictures of this. Luckily somebody took a lot of pictures of this, which is nice. So he kept looking at me, and you can see I was looking elsewhere, because I was very scared that I might stop. And Sundaram is full. Inside the hall, outside the hall, everything is full. Lot of people, so I was quite scared. But anyway, I went through the speech, I finished the speech, and right after the speech, can you go to the next one? I think Swami asked me how many days practice. Right? And then I told Swami 9 days practice, and Swami immediately said, no, not 9 days. It is 10 days. You started on this particular day, you used to sit in the Shirdi Baba temple and practice this with your teacher, and all that he said. And it was a good interaction all along, and then suddenly Swami switched over in Telugu and he said something to me in Telugu. Now Telugu is something I did not understand at all at that point in time. I was growing up in Chennai, we spoke Tamil at home, and that's all I knew. And all the people around me were also very Tamil speaking, so nobody really could sort of translate what was said to me at that point in time. Anyway, that year in the summer, right after my school year, I applied to Swami's school, joined in the 6th grade at that point in time. But many years later, almost 13 years later, I was doing my master's and was in the interview room with Swami with some other devotees. And particularly when you have grown up all along in Swami's school, he takes great pride in introducing you to all the people. So he mentioned Srikanth came to me when he was a very young kid, and he grew up here, he's a gold medalist in this, that. He puts lots of accolades on you, and then at the end of the whole thing he said, I told him to come and join my school, that is why he came and joined my school. Now this was something I know clearly never happened, right? Because I thought I wrote the entrance exam, I got through the entrance exam, and that is why I got into Swami's school. And Swami immediately saw the question in my face, and immediately he said, remember that day you gave the talk in Sundaram? I told you this in Telugu, he said. So it is very interesting that when I was talking about this one-on-one connection with the Lord, and this I felt was a one-on-one interaction, and in that one person didn't even understand what was said. And here is Swami reminding me of what he told me 13 years later. And that is the beauty of this avatar, right? When we talk about Swami living as in human form, being this personal God for all of us, bringing this personal transformation in each of us, I think this is where it comes, the rubber meets the road, if you will. I will never forget that. Swami mentioning that to me, and I'm thinking how grateful I am many years later, and I had not even realized all along the journey that it was him who brought me there. Anyway, so my story of how I joined the school is, we used to visit Prashant Nilayam quite a bit. I was part of multiple things which occurred in the Hillview Stadium early on. And one day I remember asking my mother about this elephant slide which is in primary school. I know some of the students are here, they know that. And some of you have been to Puttaparthi, you see there is this elephant slide which is inside the primary school. And the way it works is through the stomach of the elephant, you climb up the stairs and you come down the slide. Very interesting for a 8 or 9 year old kid. And I had asked my mother about, wanting to go and play in there, and my mother said, you can't enter that gate unless you're a student in Swami school, right? Because the doors are always kept. So I always think that is my single motivation of why I wanted to apply, right, in Swami school. But Swami obviously had a greater purpose. Anyway, joining Swami school, I was about 10 years old, and now I have my own children who are much older than that, and I think of how two things. One is obviously the desire. I always had the desire to, want to be there, having grown up in Bal Vikas and SSC and all that. But also my parents, who were very consenting of going and leaving me in a hostel when I was about 10 years old, knowing fully well that being with Swami is much more beneficial to me than being with them as well, right? And Swami sort of reciprocated that. At one point he mentioned to me, you have stayed with me much more than you have stayed with your parents in terms of number of years. And truly grateful for that opportunity of being a student for so many years. Anyway, so let me go to the next slide. All right. So, okay, this is in primary school. Some of you, Swati is here, who was in primary school at the same time when I was there. Primary school was, a very interesting place where. The teachers are more than parents, right? They took care of every need of children who are from grade 1 onwards, right? Don't even know to take care of yourself at that point in time. So all that they took care so beautifully. Anyway, dance was always my first love before music. I always wanted to learn dance. My father never allowed me to learn dance. He said it's meant for girls, so don't learn dance, right? And that is not true. I have plenty of boys who dance so well. Anyway, and Swami made that happen. So this was the first time he was visiting the hostel in the primary school after I had joined. And I had the opportunity to be part of a dance. Actually, it's a solo dance tuned to Baje Muraliya Baje, which is Bhimsen Joshi and Lata Mangeshkar's song. And that was the first one. You can go to the next picture. And Swami actually took a picture with me right after that. Very, very grateful, and of course I never danced after that again. So which is also a good thing. So in the end, the Swami always makes your desires sort of happen as well. So okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, so this is I'm going to quickly give you a little bit of detail here. This is who you see there next to me in the picture is Dr. Sundaraya, who you have seen plenty of times, and I'm sure you'll see him here later this year again. He's going to be part of this region for several talks. So this was the Cheppinatlu Chestara, which is a play written by Swami himself. It means, can you practice all that you preach? And this is a story Swami wrote himself when he was a young boy. And at that time, I think we were talking about Swami's early childhood yesterday. He was very particular that even with his friends and even, we know the Pandari Bhajan group and all this, I think his impact at that point in time was these social themes. He wanted to make sure those are presented in the village community and surrounding villages and things like that, so that there is an elevation in thought in terms of understanding how different social themes sort of play out. The story of Cheppinatlu Chestara is basically in 3 acts. And the first act is the mother, who I think some of you know, who's Dr. S. Kumar, who played the role of my mother in that particular play. And the onus in that particular scene is the mother sits with a lot of her friends, and they are discussing on the epics and things like that, and they talk about dharma, and they talk about, feeding the needy and the poor and things like that. And what happens is, when there is a very rich Brahmin who comes to the door, they invite him in to take care of all, pujas and things like that, essentially to get his blessings so that they can do well in life. Whereas a poor beggar comes to the door and they send him away saying, no, we don't have anything for you we don't have anything to give you. So if you think about it, the boy who watches this, he immediately thinks, my mother was discussing with her friends that we should serve the needy and the poor. In this case, her action was completely contrary to what she was talking about. Very impressionable age, and mother is very impressionable on a child, and they see the difference in the action. Next scene, the father is talking about the same thing about making sure we are good servants of the society and things of that sort. He immediately gives a lot of money to someone who comes asking for money for a party, but at the same time he says no to a boy who comes to the door asking money for his studies, right, for his education. Again, the boy is left, you say one thing and you're doing completely different. This one is the third act here, and in the third act is basically the teacher. Dr. Sundaraya plays the role of the teacher, and the inspector of schools is visiting the school, and the teacher is supposed to have completed 36 chapters. He has only finished 22 chapters, and directly he does the 36th chapter, which is the story of Harishchandra. Harishchandra, we know, is one of the ancestors of Lord Rama, and he stood for truth. When you say Satya, you say Satya Harishchandra, right? And who gave up everything for the sake of standing up for truth. And so that's what the teacher does, and he basically says, tell the inspector of schools that I have completed 36 chapters. So here the students are also, and Satya, that's my name in the play, which is exactly the name of Swami when he played the role when he was young. Krishna. Krishna was the name, sorry. And basically at the end of it, he's saying, my mother, father, and teacher, who are supposed to be the closest themselves, don't practice what they say, then God is my only refuge. So that sort of was the ending of the play. So the way this occurred was, the play was written actually predominantly by Dr. Sundaraya, and of course Swami was the one who was selecting all the actors and all the music and all that. Swami always used to get fully involved in those kinds of things. So one day I was sitting in the bhajan hall, and suddenly somebody comes and pats me from behind. I was doing my homework, and as you all know, between darshan and bhajan, students typically sit there, they do their homework or go through their studies before bhajan starts. I was doing that, and suddenly somebody was there behind me, and it was Swami, and Swami came and told me, come inside the interview room. So he was just about creating the cast of this entire play, and he had asked me to play the role of Krishna in that. And then he says, this is the role I played myself, so I will teach you how to act. And the most beautiful thing is, like I think I mentioned yesterday, these convocation dramas, the drama itself is only an excuse. The leading up time is where you spend time with Swami, morning, evening. Not only he talks about the drama, but he talks about life. And I think that is an opportunity you never want to miss, right? He gives different types of, he'll allow you the opportunity to ask questions, and all life lessons are learned at that point in time. Anyway, the play went off well, and at the end of the play, Swami was very happy. He came up to the stage. I finished the play with the song Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva, and at the end of it, Swami came and materialized the chain and all that. The amazing thing is, again, I was only about 12, 13 years old, and again, the impressions you create along the way. Here, Swami was one who pretty much put all the effort, right from the cast of the play to everyday enactment of the role. He was fully involved, and at the end of the whole thing, he's the one who sort of he went and told a lot of people, Srikanth acted in this role. Next day, actually I should tell you, Brahmananda Reddy, for those of you who are from Andhra Pradesh, he was the chief minister actually at that point in time of Andhra Pradesh, of the, not the divided Andhra Pradesh, but the together Andhra Pradesh. And he was at the backstage, and in fact Swami took me to him to ask me to show the chain to Brahmananda Reddy. Right, this is the creator himself, but at the same time, and Swami talked about this for a while. So that was, one of the other important events in my life in Puttaparthi, but again, a lot of learning along the way. Go to the next slide. Oh yeah, that is up close. I think Swami materialized this chain, and I think several people you may know from times in Parthi. So, all right, we can go to the next one. Yeah. All right, this is another important facet. I was briefly talking with children yesterday, the SSC children, and I was telling that Swami's expectation of us, it's only incidental. He brings us there for the secular education. in no way inferior to anything that we would learn in colleges outside. We got the best of the secular education. But along the way, I think he also wanted us to imbibe the spiritual education, but also wanted us to do our best in excelling in everything. So Swami always wanted me to give talks. He had seen me give the talk in Chennai, as I just mentioned to you that story. And so from there on, many occasions he wanted me to give talks. This is one such occasion in the Purnachandra Hall. And I'll mention a couple of things with relating to giving these talks. One is, one thing I noticed was these talks used to happen in front of everybody. Purnachandra Hall before Swami's discourse is filled, as you all know, and also the outsides are pretty filled in Prashanti Nilayam. But what Swami would do is, sometimes he used to give us 10 days notice early on that you prepare for the talk and present the talk and all that. Then I slowly noticed the number of days started reducing. It became 5 days and then became 3 days. It's also learning, right? And then it becomes 2 days. This Krishna Janmashtami, I remember Chakravarti sir, who was the registrar at that point in time. In the morning he told me, Swami wants you to speak in the evening. And so it became, you've got a few hours. And then at some point it became stand up and speak. Right? So just the way Swami prepares you for these things, I always think that is a huge lesson where the expectation is at any point you get an opportunity, we cannot let the opportunity go. Swami says stand up and speak. You say, Swami, I'm not ready, then you can sit down, the opportunity may not come again. Another time Swami says stand up, you chant the Rudram. Swami, I don't know the Rudram. Then that's it, it's not coming again. The point I'm trying to make is, readiness was something which Swami taught us. Important to be ready when the opportunity comes. Talk about bhajans. You look at somebody and say, can you please sing a song? You say, no, I don't know the song, I am not prepared, I am this, I am that, my throat is not great. That opportunity to sing for Swami may not come again. Right? So that I just want to put that thought in your mind that, being prepared when that opportunity comes is on us. So that was something Swami taught me through this thing. Anyway, I have one particular incident which which I often think about because it was sort of very dramatic the way it occurred. So that particular year actually Swami had asked me to speak multiple times for Ganesh Chaturthi, which all come back to back. We just had Janmashtami, Ganesh Chaturthi, and Guru Purnima. So multiple occasions I was speaking back to back, and I was truly grateful, but at the same time fully realizing that Swami wanted me to do this more often, so it is important that I stay prepared, always be ready, right, for this. That year for Dashara, that year or the following year for Dashara, Swami had picked a number of students to give talks before his discourse. So as you know, Swami used to do the Veda Purusha Jnana Saptaha, starting from the 3rd day, typically it goes all the way to the 10th day. And Swami had picked about, 2 speakers for every day, and he had set a schedule, and it was more an opportunity for us to sort of interact with him on this. And particularly a couple of us used to have more an opportunity to be with Swami because Swami always wanted me to sing a few songs while speaking. Swami used to say that, those who are sleeping will also wake up. So it is important that, you sing. It's hot in Puttaparthi, maybe very similar to Austin, maybe not today. But, things like that. Swami used to always spend more time. He used to ask me what songs you want to sing. He used to pick songs out of that. I had learned Carnatic music at that point in time, so I used to present a few Tyagaraja Kritis, which is very, Swami used to love Tyagaraja Kritis. And, we know stories of Swami sitting with brothers Ram and Lakshman and singing these in Venkatagiri, homes, and it's something Swami loved, singing a lot of these Tyagaraja Kritis. So, this particular time, the Dashara time, so we had prepared and I was fully prepared on the songs, and Swami comes up to me on the 3rd day and he says, I was supposed to speak on the 3rd day, the first day. Swami comes up to me and says, you don't speak on the 3rd day, you speak on the Ayudha Puja day, the Saraswati Puja day, which is the 9th day. A lot more crowd will be there. So, you immediately think you are very important, you don't want to speak on the 3rd day, speak on the 9th day when everybody is there. As it's willed, on the 8th day I developed a very high fever. I was pretty sick. And so I went up to Swami and I said, Swami, I don't think I'll be able to speak because I was not worried about speaking, I was more worried about singing, and this is in front of everybody. So I was telling Swami I'm not feeling great. So immediately Swami said, don't worry, I'll send the doctor to the hostel. So Dr. C.G. Patel, who was very instrumental in Swami's East Africa trip, for those of you who have read, again it's in part of Satyam Shivam Sundaram. So Dr. C.G. Patel came to the hostel, he gave me some medication, gave me some injections and that kind of thing. And at the end of the whole thing, I was feeling better. Next day Swami called the warden and asked how I was doing. So the warden said I was doing better but not fully okay. And then Swami said, tell him I'll send a car to the hospital. So all this was, I'm giving you all the details just because it becomes how much Swami goes to the extent of one student, I was not even 15. Somebody speaking before Swami's discourse, totally irrelevant. Nobody would have even known if I had not spoken, right? But to the extent Swami goes for every devotee. I think that is the key message out of this whole thing. Swami sent the car, I went to the mandir. As soon as I went to the mandir, actually yesterday in the Jeopardy you saw the Nataraja statue and Balaji answered the Purnachandra Hall for that one. So that was the door. Swami was staying in Purnachandra Hall at that time, at the back. So the Yajur Mandir was not yet built. And Swami opened the door, took me inside, I sat down, he went and got me a glass of water to drink and everything. And after that, he told me, today you speak first, and once you speak, you go and take rest. Don't stay for the rest of the program, he said. As if that speech was so important, right? So anyway, so that was all said. I went up, I spoke. After I spoke, the student who spoke after me, Swami told him to tell everybody that, he was sick, but Swami wanted him to speak, so he came and spoke. That is the amazing quality in leadership for me, because several of us have the opportunity to play leadership roles in the Sai organization. And I think it is something to think about where, if you look at it, the reason I narrated all the details, in every case it was Swami who did everything that was required. Right from preparing the speech, to asking me when to speak, and then, sending the doctor, sending the car, getting there, giving me the water to drink. Nobody has ever seen any of this. The only thing people would have seen is me speaking in Purnachandra, right? But at the end of the whole thing, Swami tells that student to say, Swami wanted him to come and speak, that is why he spoke. The credit is never taken by the leader, right? So this is a physical example of how Swami exhibited that. At the end of it, the credit is given to the individual who is the upcoming leader, because they notice that and eventually they hopefully will do the same thing for others. And I think this was an example which for me always stands out. It is not about drawing boundaries and drawing this and that and saying that, this is my domain, devotion, education, service. That is not the point. The point at the end of the whole thing is we do all the work together and make sure that the next generation sort of is moved forward as well as they pick up skills from the older generation. So that's what always Swami stood for. All right, we'll go to the next. Yeah, I'd like to read this one. Because along the way, I also want to make sure that we take messages from the whole thing, because these are beautiful experiences, no doubt, but the learning is what becomes critical. And to me, at that point, having gone through multiple opportunities in Swami's presence, understanding what Swami means to me at the physical level and at the deeper level is even more critical. So I'll just read this quote. This is from Swami himself. This word surrender has been misinterpreted and people promote idleness in the name of surrender. We think that our mind, thought and body have been surrendered to the Lord. This in fact is not true and is in the direction of deceiving the Lord. We are undertaking to cheat the Lord. Your mind is not under your own control, and under such circumstances, how can you hold it and give it to the Lord? You have no control over your own body. If you have a small cut, blood oozes from your body and you run to the doctor asking for a bandage. If this is your body and if you have complete control over it, why is that you are not able to control the outflow of blood? In this context, to say that you have surrendered your mind and body to the Lord is a statement which is untrue. This word surrender conveys that there is someone who gives and someone who accepts, and that you are surrendering to someone. There is a feeling of duality implied in this word surrender. A man with dual mind is half blind. In this manner, while he remains with this dual thought, how can he recognize the non-dual aspect? The true meaning of surrender is the recognition of the fact that in everyone and in everywhere God is present. The recognition of the presence of God in all jivas, or the individual souls, is the true meaning of the word surrender. I think it's a very critical aspect that, right? When we speak of Advaita and when we speak about surrender, it's like, I don't know about this person, I don't know about that person, but I am surrendered to Swami, right? It doesn't work that way. It is always the community, the feeling of oneness in each other, what we see, is what takes us all along together in this path. Alright, we'll go to the next one. This one I briefly narrated yesterday, but I'll quickly show you the pictures of this. This is the Markandeya play, which I talked about yesterday. For those of you who are not there, I'll just quickly recap. This is a play which was done, part of the convocation, and this is in Shanti Vedika. So this was a Telugu play, and I'll just point to the key aspect of this, so you can go to the next slide. So essentially this is, I was playing the role of Marudvati, which is the mother of Markandeya, and essentially praying to God in this case for a child, because the parents don't have a child for a long period of time. And you can go to the next one. I think we'll have just a couple of pictures. So essentially a child is eventually born, and Markandeya, as you all know the story, lives only for 16 years, and of course Lord Shiva comes and protects him so that he becomes one who lives forever. The main story which from here was, Swami was sitting with the President of India at that time and watching this play, and from below my sari, my trousers could be seen, and Swami made a comment to the warden to come and tell me to adjust the sari so that so that I can look proper on the stage. Anyway, the point is, again, the idea of the pursuit of perfection, right? For me, Swami always stood for two things, which is two sides of the same coin. He always put the best effort. I just told you the story of my own talk where Swami put all the effort, actually. It is the same thing when he gives out clothes to people. It is the same thing when he's inaugurating the super specialty hospital or building the super specialty hospital. It is the same thing when, somebody's getting admitted to the institute. Swami would have spoken to the parents, to the registrar, to the vice chancellor. One thing which I always learned from Swami is he would never hesitate from doing the work, right? All the effort was always there in pursuit of perfection. But the same side of the coin, on the other side, is instant detachment. That is how you truly live in the present. You keep putting all the work you need without expectation of any reward at the end of the whole thing, right? Swami has built these beautiful hospitals, beautiful educational institutions which have been surviving over so many years at this point, right? And not once I've heard Swami say, look at my beautiful super specialty hospital, how much seva it is doing for the world. It was not something he did at all. He did an action and moved on to the next thing. Make sure that, you put everything to make sure that it happens correctly and then move on. And that to me is truly living by Bhagavad Gita, right? We always say, karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, right? Work for the, put all the effort, but at the same time, once the action is done, instant detachment. I often think, if I set up a birthday party of my own child, I will be talking about it for 10 years to come. I will say, how many people showed up, 500 people were there, it was so beautiful, and that was not Swami. And the reason I bring up these qualities is, this is something we can all live by. It is very easy to say he is divine, he came and lived as divine. That is aside. I think he lived as a human to show us how we can also live. So, putting the best effort at the same time, looking for, an instant detachment in the sense, move on. Don't get stuck with the same thing. Right, go to the next one. Alright, this is the divine vibrations that result from bhajans you sing are spreading to all parts of the world. The divine name that you chant purifies the hearts of many. Sing the glory of God. By doing so, you will render great help to the whole world. Alright, so bhajan singing is another facet of my own life there in Prashanthi Nilayam. So I wanted to share a few things that I have seen and learned from Swami.
Also, please sing for us.
Sorry, I will. Yeah. So, coming to bhajan singing, I think we all know the tradition of bhajan singing was started by Guru Nanak, right? Almost 500 years plus at this point, when Guru Nanak started this whole concept of bhajan singing, right? And what is bhajan singing? It is group singing, right? If only the lead singer is singing, they'll be singing alone, there won't be any following. The whole idea is, singing together should elevate us we have different styles of singing. We sing lead follow, we sing unison, we sing all types of singing, right? Whether it be in different languages, so all of us understand the words. But at the end of it, the purpose of bhajan singing is to elevate the entire congregation to be closer to it, right? That's the purpose of bhajan singing. I'll share a few lessons along the way. So maybe there's one funny story. I think you may have heard it, but I'll just mention this. In Prashant Nilayam, the opportunity to sing in Swami's presence, to lead bhajans, has to come directly from him till a certain point in time when Swami was physically getting involved. So if anybody wants to lead bhajans in Puttaparthi, first of all, you have to feel comfortable that you're qualified. And once you're qualified, your job is to ask Swami, can I lead bhajans? And Swami is the only one who can give permission. So there was a student who wanted to sing, and he was not clearly ready, and also the desire should be motivated by the purest of thoughts that, bhajan leading is a service. In the end, it's not about a performance. It's not about you standing up there and leading and people appreciating you. That's not the intention of bhajans at all. So this student went up and asked Swami, can I lead a bhajan? And Swami did not want to say no. He's Swami after all. He cannot say no. So he said, you'll go and ask the senior students who sing in the bhajan hall. So he sent them there, and the student went and asked them, and then they said, we all know clearly Swami has to give the guidance, so we cannot do it. This went back and forth, and Swami wouldn't say no either, right? So it went back and forth, and after some time, one day Swami called the student inside, and he said, do you want to sing for me, or do you want to sing in front of everybody? What is your motivation? And he said immediately, if you want to sing for me, if you want to sing in front of everybody, you are not ready. That is the reason I did not say no in front of everybody, but I'm calling you separately. Again, a great quality in leadership, right? When you admonish or when you teach somebody a lesson, do it in private. It's not done in everybody's presence, right? So here Swami was telling him, you are not ready to sing in front of everybody, so I'm telling you that. But if you always wanted to sing for me, I am here with you all the time. You can sing in your altar and I will listen to you. But if your motivation was to sit and sing in the mic at the retreat, I want to sing in the mic. If that is the motivation, then it is not the purest, right? The intention is not the purest. I mean, of course, if you're fully ready and it comes from a place where somebody says, yes, you can sing, no, you don't sing, and you have no emotions, that's the best thing, right? You should be able to operate at that level, but all of us are always growing. So this was learning for that particular student. In the end, so bhajan singing is service at the largest level, right? It is about singing so well that people don't focus on you who are the singer, but it elevates them to connect with the Lord. That was the purpose of bhajan singing. So I'll share one funny story. This is from Vrindavan, and I had started leading bhajans, after my voice broke. I had earlier part of the plays and everything I was singing, but after 11th grade my voice changed as a teenage boy, and then I started singing bhajans in 11th grade, late 11th grade when I was in the high school. And this is a funny story from Vrindavan. After my 12th grade, I was in Vrindavan for my undergraduate, and we were 3 of us who were leading bhajans at that time. Like I said, only Swami has to give permission, so only 3 of us at that point had permission to sing. So we used to get opportunities to sing 4 or 5. Swami used to sit for an hour for bhajans at that time in Vrindavan. We used to sing 4, 5, 6 bhajans a session because it used to come so quickly and it's only 3 people rotating. But again, you have to take your responsibility very, very seriously. That is important. The moment you're singing 3 bhajans, 4 bhajans, sometimes you're like, oh, I can just keep the shruti, I can start, I can sing, no problem, right? And then what happened was, one day, V.K. Narasimhan, I think some of you may know, he was the editor of Times of India, subsequently the editor of Sanatana Sarathi magazine, right? So, and a very popular figure in Indian politics because he was, the press had the greatest freedom during the emergency period when Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. So V.K. Narasimhan had an important role at that point in politics as well. But anyway, subsequently became the editor of Sanatana Sarathi, lived in Prashant Nilayam. So he was sitting inside Trai Vrindavan. One day the Swami was sitting with all the students. He made a comment, Swami made a comment, because this is how he starts the Narayana and Narada, interaction. So Swami immediately said, our students are singing beautifully, but they are not really thinking about the entire congregation. You know, there are Muslims who are coming, there are Christians who are coming, there are all types of people who are coming. They are leading, you know, their own, whatever they want to sing, they are singing, right? So immediately we can added to that as well. He said, oh Swami, today all the bhajans were only Sai, 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 in every bhajan was there. You know, I didn't hear Buddha, I didn't hear Yeshu, I didn't hear, you know, all the different gods. And Swami picked up on that as well. And he said, oh, no, that is true. And then, you know, he made a comment. And then, so next day we sort of took that message. And next day we said, okay, we will prepare bhajans. And there are enough bhajans you can sing without Sai in it, actually. There are plenty, if you look at the bhajan list. So we said, okay, why don't we try that for the next day? So we picked bhajans there was no Sai at all in any of the bhajans. I had picked one of the bhajans I was singing was this song, I think in Averi. I think all of you may know this bhajan. Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghu Rama. So if you go through the bhajan, there is no Sai anywhere except in the last line. Prema Sagara Sai Rama. So essentially it says, Sai, you are the Prema Sagara, right? You are the ocean of compassion. So that line alone, I changed the line because that was our theme for the day, right? Prema Sagara Shri Raghurama. That is how I sang that. And you would have heard from other students, Swami always keeps beat, right? When he's sitting on the chair, you know, on the hand, he will always keep beat. And all of us tune ourselves to the beat of Swami's hand, right? Even if he's not giving it with hand, you will see his feet moving. So all of us, you know, keep our talam based on that. And, you know, I always think it's funny because sometimes if the lead singer decides to do something which is not in tune with Swami's beat, the tabla, like for example, if Swami had listened to the first line only once and then, you know, of the last line of the first speed once and then he decides to go to the second speed, everybody goes to the second speed. Right? So, but then if the lead singer decides, oh, I want to sing one more time, I want to sing up or down and all these things, you'll be singing alone, right? Because nobody else, the tabla players now would have moved on to the next beat. So here, that day, actually, Swami sat through the second speed of this bhajan and then last line I just started and already his hand had fully stopped and it was very clear he was not continuing the beat. Right? So I finished the bhajan and went inside Trai Vrindavan after that session in the evening. Swami called me up front and then called me right in the front and then he said, what bhajan did you sing today? Then I knew that something was wrong, even when, you know, after a while of being in Swami's presence, it's better to stay quiet rather than speak and admit your, lack of knowledge. So I sang it the way he said, you know, sing again. So I sang it the way I sang it. And immediately Swami said, you didn't sing like that outside. What did you sing outside? And then, of course, I just stayed quiet and then Swami said, all the people who came, they came for you or came for me? There are two messages I take away from this. It's not that Swami is saying, sit and glorify me. That is not his point. I think whatever he teaches, I think his point is, the lessons have to be operated in moderation. Don't take it from one extreme or the other extreme. You know, be pragmatic in your decision making. Again, we talked about leadership. Be pragmatic in what you make a decision. It should be in the best benefit of everybody who's present. The second thing I always take away is, in this point of view where, Swami always wanted us to make sure we think of the congregation when we set our bhajans. It's not sufficient that I can sing this, I will sing this. You know, that's one way to do it. Then you can look at how the devotion coordinator's job becomes very difficult. Because in the end, if everybody just says, this is what I can sing, this is what I can lead, which is okay, but then when you look at the overall mix, are you really representing everybody who's in the audience? If Jesus is my chosen God, and if that day Jesus does not come at all in any of the bhajans, how would that person, who really does not have an opportunity to lead, right? They are just sitting and following, how will that person feel? That is Swami's point. So it becomes a responsibility of lead singers, and that's something I learned over time, to not only choose your bhajan, but also look at the overall mix. If somebody is singing a bhajan which is 10 lines long, it's automatically somebody else should sing a bhajan which is 4 lines long, right? If everybody sings 10 lines, The bhajan session should be half an hour, it will become 45 minutes. You'll be late for the next program. Right? So something to think about. That's where pragmatism comes into play. And I think bhajan singing is part of our life with Swami. Whether be it in Prashanti Nilayam, morning, evening, we had bhajans. Same thing is true when we have all Sai events, whether it's center, retreat, whatever. I think taking these lessons from Swami becomes very critical. What am I doing on time? Am I? Yeah, another quick 10 minutes. Okay. Go to the next one. Yeah, this is inside Rai Vrindavan. Just wanted to show you a picture. That's how Swami called me up front and interact with Swami. This is very typical. I think early on we looked at that message of Swami saying, "Sit as close to me." It was more a physical this thing saying, "Be truly yearn to make your lives more worthwhile and make sure that you are sort of listening to every word that he's giving to us." So this is a thing inside Rai Vrindavan. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Can keep moving, I think. Yeah. This is, we all used to have opportunities to sort of take clothes and all different things to Swami. This was that day was my opportunity in Vrindavan. Anyway, so we'll move to the next one. I'll maybe take a couple more stories. I think we are almost at 11:30 here. Sports was something I was engaged myself in quite a bit. I know Balaji is here to compete in athletics actually quite a bit. But it is something which was part of my life there as well. And the reason I bring that up is when I was talking to the children, I was saying yesterday, Swami expected us to do everything. And whether it be Veda chanting, whether it be speaking, whether getting excellent grades, that is another critical aspect of what Swami always expected. Sports. Now when I look back and when we are raising our own children here, life is busy, and it's good to be busy at that point in time where you don't have anything else as the focus. We didn't have TV or anything in the hostel. Once in a while we saw, they showed us a movie. That was the only thing. Right, so there were no other external distractions, and we were in a boarding school, right? So pretty much we were in the hostel the entire time. So there was lots of activities. Saturday was almost a full working day. Sunday we woke up even earlier because we went for morning darshan as well. So it's just like a really busy aspect, and Swami knew how to keep, I guess, teenage children engaged at that point in time. And all that pays, great dividends now. We may not have enjoyed waking up at 5 to go to Suprabhatam every day, right? Not just at the retreat. Every day at 5 p.m. 5 a.m. Suprabhatam. And some of us went there and, slept in the Suprabhatam. But it did not matter. I think in the grand scheme, it was the discipline of making sure you wake up, it becomes part of your routine. And till we turn off lights, I remember even till my master's degree, going to bed by 10:30, 11 was critical, right? I think that is the schedule. Otherwise, you won't wake up by 5 in the morning. Be it exams, be it anything else. I think that was when the lights was shut off in the hostel. So it taught us how to live a very disciplined life. At the same time, honing in on different aspects of our time there. I'll just share a quick story here. Like I was saying, Swami always wanted us to particularly with bhajans, and in the bhajan hall we all had our assigned seats in below Swami's chair. I think so. One particular time during sports meet, and there were several events going on, and I had missed the bhajans for many days actually in a row. And it's pretty obvious because we had all had our spots, and I think Swami knew that I was not present for many days. On Shankranti day, that was after the sports meet, I think Swami gives out the prize distribution actually that day. And on that day, there was a music program. I sang as part of the music program. Right at the program, Swami was giving Pada Namaskaran. He told me, you sang well, but he was like, where were you the last 10 days? You were not in the bhajans. The reason I bring this up is, not everybody is given an opportunity. When given an opportunity, it is important that Swami expected you to perform to that level. Swami gives us different roles in the organization in different ways, in our own lives, at work or elsewhere. When given the opportunity, it is our expectation is to balance everything else and still be there to make sure that we do what we do to the best of our ability. So that was something I learned as well. It's very easy to say, Swami, I was receiving the championship or whatever that day evening, and I could have been very proud about that. But that was not where Swami's focus was. The focus was more from the perspective of making sure when you are given a particular role, do the role well. I think that's important. Okay. Yeah, this is just a few pictures. I'll quickly tell you. This is an altar competition. This was in Vrindavan. We used to have just different ways in which we used to make sure Swami comes to us. So every room, we used to build these altars, and subsequently it became a tradition in Prashanthi Nilayam as well. And Swami used to come and take pictures, and we used to have this altar competition. This is basically the altar which used to sit in each of our rooms. These rooms were shared by 13, 14 people or so. Go to the next one. All right, just a couple more things, and I'll close out with a story. So, spiritual practice must make you calm, unruffled, poised, balanced. Make the mind as cool and comforting as moonlight, for the moon is the deity holding sway over the mind. Be calm in speech and in your response to malice, cavilling, and praise. You complain that others are disturbing your equanimity, but you do not know that through your tongue, though your tongue does not speak, your thoughts can unsettle the equanimity of all those around you. Satya Sai speaks. Right? So this is again more and more opportunity to work on ourselves. I think that's very. I think those of you who are at the national conference, we had a very engaging debate on individual practices and group practices, right? And I think in the end, both are necessary. But at the same time, I think the point is working on ourselves is the most critical aspect of spiritual discipline. All right, I think we can go one more. I think we can just shift through these. Yeah. I think we just have a picture, so it should be good. Okay. All right, I will maybe let's do share one more story, and then we'll do a bhajan, and then we'll close. So this story is again. I may have said it before, but I kind of want to say it again only because it brings a lot of lessons for us as devotees. So one hot afternoon, Swami was driving from Vrindavan to Prashanthi Nilayam. So this was the driver in the front, and Swami was sitting in the back. And as you all know, that those roads were not the greatest, at the time when I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago. And the car was going through, hot. Puttaparthi is, Puttaparthi, I think you know the meaning, a place of ant hills. That's how it was named, right? And place of ant hills is where snakes live. So we have seen plenty of snakes in our time in Prashanthi Nilayam. So this Swami's car was passing a particular road, and there was a snake, and it appeared. Swami was closing his eyes, and the driver was in the front. He is continuing to drive, right? There was nobody else around. And suddenly there was a snake which was passing on the road, quickly going from one side to the other. And the only person who saw this was the driver, because it appeared Swami was also closing his eyes. So at that point he had two things. He knew Swami's eyes were closed, so he could either brake, so that way he doesn't run over the snake, which would throw off Swami's, if Swami was sleeping, it will throw off, disturb him. But if he doesn't do that, he knew the distance wasn't sufficient enough that he's going to sort of run over this particular snake. It was, and the details are important because this is how life is for us. In a moment we have to make a decision one way or the other. And in this case, he wanted to make he said, I am not disturbing Swami, so I am going to just go. So he just went over, and he was super upset in his mind that he thought he had run over the snake, and he felt very, very bad. They reach Prashanthi Nilayam. Once they reach Prashanthi Nilayam, Swami sends for the driver, and he calls the driver inside, and once he's inside, Swami lifts up his robe and shows him the tire mark on his back. Right? And Swami tells him, the snake is safe, don't worry. Right? So this is how life is, right? And I often think of this for myself, because in a moment sometimes we have to make decisions. Certain times you have time, you can think about it and all that. But in these split-second decisions, you always have to sort of be prepared of how you make a decision. And what it always tells me is, if you choose the way Swami would want it to be, right? In this case, he chose Swami at a physical level. If you would choose in line with what Swami would expect us to choose, automatically everything else will be taken care of. And I think that message is something I want to leave with all of you. Think about it, right? Very often we are put in these dilemmas, and I think the best way to do is just take a moment, think what Swami would want. And I think the answer is very clear. That's what is conscience, right? Swami says, listen to your conscience, you don't need to go anywhere else. Conscience is your best friend. So that, if we tune back into, I think all our words, actions, thoughts, everything will be in line with his expectations. And, a very unsettling situation can be made a very settled situation. And we are so grateful we are in Swami's fold. And we are so grateful for his presence on earth. We are so grateful that we have the opportunity to celebrate his 100 years, this year. And all the more opportunities with all these events for us to deeply think why we are here and take his messages even more, seriously and internalize it as well.